It's by pure coincidence that a few weeks ago I was watching some Dr. Phil YouTube clips from around 2 years ago that discussed the awful murder of Shanann Watts and her two daughters, Cece and Bella. And then 4 days ago, Netflix put up this film, and American Murder, The Family Next Door, about the murder of Shanann and her daughters. And obviously I had to watch it, and I will say now, it is phenomenal. It's directed by Jenny Popplewell, and it's fantastic. The narrative, the pacing is incredible. The use of all these different bits of footage is spectacular. One too many Facebook clips, but I'll talk about that in a bit. But it is spectacular, and it's so gripping that obviously I had to share this with you and urge you to watch it if you haven't. So this, I feel awkward saying this will contain a spoiler by telling you what exactly happened to Shanann. I'm assuming that if you live in America, you probably will definitely have heard of this because it was a big, big case. If you live in Colorado where it happened, almost definitely you would have heard of it. But I am going to tell you, in discussing this, what happened and how it happened. So if you haven't seen the documentary yet and you're not familiar with the story, please go and watch it first. But from this point, there will be spoilers. So, well, let's get the spoiler out of the way. Shanann was murdered by her husband, Christopher. And they'd been married about 6 years, I believe. And throughout the documentary, we learn that their marriage wasn't the best. At the very beginning, a friend of Shanann's is trying to get into the house. And she's having difficulty getting hold of her, and then her husband comes along, and there's a police officer. And what I love is straight away we have this body cam footage from this police officer, and we see quite a lot of body cam footage. And I know the purpose of body cam footage isn't for documentaries, it's for the benefit of both the victim, suspect, and the police officer. But it's fantastic. I love seeing the body cam footage, and we do get quite a lot of it, and the use of it is wonderful. And then we get to see bits about Shanann's life and where she might be. We do learn kind of in real time as the detectives learn things. And obviously they question everybody, and they question the husband. And would I have blamed the husband in the beginning? Yeah, he was acting a little strangely, but I don't think he was that obviously suspicious to begin with. But then we get to see a lot of contrast in their private and public relationships. So Shanann posted what I can only imagine is an abundance of Facebook videos about her family. And yes, she's one of those mothers who puts her daughters all over the internet. And I will be honest, I didn't really like her personality, at least the way she came across in videos. I just couldn't get on board with him. I thought, not that many people really care about these private videos. They should just be for your family. But never mind. Bearing in mind she had a lot of Facebook followers. But what is apparent with these videos that we see is that she loved her daughters. There was no question about that. And then we get to see text messages between her and her husband. And in the texts, her husband seemed really lovely and she seemed to be overreacting. That's the way it was portrayed in the documentary, or at least the way that I perceived it. Whether or not it was more serious than that, it's hard to tell, but she seemed to be clingy and needy and obsessive and overreacting. And I never really at any point liked her. And I know that feels awful, and I'm sure she was a lovely person. Just the way this documentary portrayed her personality made her hard to get on board with. But those little girls, Bella and Celeste, or Cece, they are the two that make this absolutely heartbreaking. And also, Shanann is pregnant when she is murdered, so there's also another, a little baby boy. And the turning point in this, as I said, spoilers, is when Christopher takes the polygraph. And what's really interesting is that I didn't know this. I didn't know that they don't get the polygraph results in real time. Only the person conducting the test can see whether they pass or fail. The person doing it doesn't know until after it's done. And then it's so shocking because he says that, he tried to blame it on somebody else, on Shanann, and then later confesses. And I just still can't get my head around why he did these murders. Why? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And even after finishing it, and I kind of love that, it's that kind of weird frustration of how is this possible? What happened? There are still missing pieces. Why would... Okay, I can see why he'd murder his wife. I'm not saying it's the right thing, of course. I can just see things that would lead up to that point. But why his daughters? And initially, as I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you've seen this documentary, that's why you're watching this, he initially said Shanann killed her daughters. And then he killed her in rage. And then he flipped his story and said, no, I killed them all. And while, obviously, I believe he did kill them, on the other hand, why? Why would he murder his 2 daughters and not just his wife? I don't understand. He murdered his wife because she said he couldn't see the girls anymore. And so he murdered her because he was annoyed at that. But then why would he kill his little girls because he was annoyed that he couldn't see them? It doesn't make any sense. Unless maybe he killed them because he knew he would go to prison for the murder of Shanann and he didn't want anybody else to have his children. I don't know. The way he disposed of the bodies of the girls, dumping them in oil. You know something, when I was watching the Dr. Phil clips and they said they were dumped in barrels of oil, I was thinking maybe 5-foot barrels. These are industrial-sized barrels that are bigger than my house. And to think he just dropped his little girls in there. And I don't understand how anybody could ever do that. I can't imagine what the recovery of those bodies would have been like for those involved. And it's heartbreaking for those little girls and for their grandmother as well. They had a very good relationship with their grandmother, and it just broke my heart. I didn't cry. I very rarely cry at true crime documentaries because I'm always hyped up about all the gory and disgusting aspects. But it was hard to watch. And I strongly urge you, if you can, to watch the Dr. Phil clips. Because they're just... You know, it's the aftermath, and it's very powerful and moving, and they will make you cry without question, especially from their grandmother. Is the documentary shocking? Yes. Is it well done? Oh, yes. You know, having the polygraph footage, the body cam footage, the Facebook footage of Shanann, it bugged me a lot, but of the little girls living their life, you know, so wonderful and really helps to build up a true picture. I'd say it's absolutely worth a watch without question. It's an incredible story. It's shocking. Should never have happened. I still don't know how it happened. But as far as documentaries go, probably one of the best I've seen.